This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
My guest today on Sports Files is college basketball and NBA analyst and former star guard Greg Anthony. Once upon a time, Greg Anthony was a member of one of the most famous starting fives in college basketball history, playing the point for the Runnin' Rebs of UNLV. In his junior year in 1990, Anthony and his teammates, which included such stars as Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon, beat Duke for the NCAA championship. And Anthony played nearly the entire season with a broken jaw, displaying not only his toughness, but his will to win. Anthony went on to produce a fine career in the NBA, which included 2 years at starting point guard for the expansion Vancouver Grizzlies. Upon his retirement in 2002, Anthony moved into the broadcasting field and took to it like a fish to water. He has worked for ESPN, NBA TV, the YES Network, and CBS Sports, where this season he will leave the studio to sit side by side with Jim Nantz for the NCAA tournament and the road to the Final Four. Today I play a little pickup game with one of basketball's smoothest commentators and a former smooth operator himself on the hardwood. Greg Anthony, next on Sports Files. Hey, Greg, thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
It's good to see you.
Always.
So you're here in the home of the Memphis Grizzlies,
Yes.
and once upon a time, you were the starting point guard for a couple of seasons with the Vancouver Grizzlies. A lot has changed for this franchise, as you know. First of all, what was it like for you back then in Vancouver, and what do you think now about this Memphis Grizzlies franchise?
Well, personally, it was a great experience off the court. You know, we weren't very good.
No.
It was expansion. And in fact, Lionel Hollins was one of the assistants, the former Grizzly coach, head coach. And it was neat from the standpoint that you were a part of history, you know, an expansion franchise in another country, no less. So from that respect, I truly enjoyed it. Made a lot of wonderful friends. Had some highlights, but mainly lowlights in terms of what happened on the floor.
Right.
But a lot of fond memories, and juxtapose that with what's happening now here in Memphis with the Grizzlies. You know, they have really become one of the elite teams in the NBA. Mike Conley Jr. has an unbelievable run. You know, Zach Randolph, all those guys, they've done a lot of positives, and I've been really excited how the city of Memphis, which is more noted for their love and affection with the Tigers
Exactly.
in college, how they've really accepted this organization and really bought into it, and it's really been a boon for the NBA.
There's a great model of a small area that has a great following of their basketball team. They've had success, and that's San Antonio. It's a small market team that has had as good a success over the last 10 years than anybody. Memphis wants to follow in their footsteps. Can a small market like Memphis sustain an organization like the Grizzlies, and they continue to have success? Will they be able to get free agents?
Well, I think they can. The one advantage you have in basketball is one player has far more impact than any other team sport. You know, you only play 5, you play both ways.
Right.
Look at what's going on in Oklahoma City. You're also, because of the salary cap and the fact that all teams are basically only going to be allowed to spend the same amount, it'll create an environment where you can be competitive. And I think they have created an atmosphere in terms of how the city has supported them. Memphis is a great place to live. There's a well-documented history of small market teams, more so probably than any other major sport. You could probably throw hockey in there as well, but of those teams having success, you mentioned San Antonio, the Utah Jazz, you know, played in multiple finals
Right.
as well. So that history's there. And you also, listen, there are a lot of great players who are comfortable playing out of the limelight from the standpoint of the national media. Not everyone wants to play in New York, LA, or Chicago. And I think that also plays to the favor of Memphis, and I think you're going to see them continue to have success as long as their front office has the wherewithal to continue to make the moves and be preemptive at times, as well as proactive in terms of how they're going to structure their franchise.
Well, they made a lot of moves in the offseason, and a big move with the coach. You mentioned Lionel Hollins moments ago.
He coached this team to their best record in the history of the organization. They went to the Western Conference Finals. They make a change with Dave Yeager. Thoughts on that?
Well, listen, I think Dave Yeager has paid his dues. I think he's going to be a really good coach. Having said that, Lionel Hollins obviously put his signature on this organization, had a great rapport with that group. And listen, everybody, when they made the deal midseason for Rudy Gay, thought that would be the end. And for him to rally that group and get them to play as well as they did over the course of the second half of the season and on into the postseason, you have to commend him for that. But the culture of winning has been created for the Grizzlies. And the one thing now, though, the expectation level will rise because of the success of a season ago. And that's where you'll find out what your guys are made of, because it's a far easier task to be the hunter than it is to be the hunted. And that's the role that they're now going to find themselves in. And I'm excited, like a lot of people here in Memphis, is to see how they respond to that. And I think they're going to be one of the better teams because I do think there's room at the top. Oklahoma City, Russell Westbrook coming back. San Antonio made an unbelievable run last year, but they're a little longer in the tooth than they were a season ago. The Lakers obviously not having Dwight Howard, Kobe coming back from the Achilles, and then Houston trying to emerge now.
Getting Dwight Howard, right?
Getting Dwight Howard. So I think it's going to be pretty wide open in that Western Conference, and it could be one of those dynamics where you're Memphis and you say, why not us?
Yeah. Let me make the segue to the college ball. But before we completely do that, let me ask you this. Is your preference, because you work TNT, you do NBA games, you work CBS, you do college games, do you have a preference on which games you like to call?
I love basketball. And so for me, they are different games. There's no doubt about it. I often tell people, the word I would use to describe the collegiate game is passion. These are young student athletes who are, for the most part, the vast majority are playing at the highest level that they will ever play at.
Right.
And they treat it accordingly. The professional game's more about pressure. You're playing for your livelihood. You're playing for your legacy. There are a lot of other parameters that go into it. And because of that, both are truly unique. And I just have a great love for both. Obviously, with my role at CBS being a part of the tournament, unlike on the NBA side of Turner, we don't get to call the finals. So when you get to have, in essence, the biggest sporting event, arguably in America, when you look at the totality of March Madness, man, there's nothing like that. And the entire country is really just, I think they're capsulized by it over the course of that month. Obviously here in Memphis, they like their college basketball a little bit as well.
They hope to go far in March Madness. So you use your expertise to add color commentary during college basketball games, and then we've seen you in the studio during the road to the Final Four. Now you'll be with Jim on the call in the national championship game, the Final Four games. How do you feel about that?
I was humbled by it, to be quite frank. I wasn't anything that I expected, nor really had yearned for, from the standpoint of I was truly happy just being a part of a great team. CBS, who has partnered with Turner now in their coverage of the NCAA tournament, having access to 4 networks now, where I remember for you and I as kids growing up, you didn't get to see every game in its totality.
Not even close.
You only heard about the vast majority of what went down. And so now, from a fan's perspective, to have all of that brought to you at the tip of your finger is a pretty cool dynamic. And then to get the opportunity to work with the great Jim Nantz and Steve Kerr as well, as we'll do a 3-man booth for the Final Four. And Tracy Wolfson will be sidelined for her. She's unbelievable. I've had a lot of opportunities to work with her as well. So our team hasn't changed. Our roles have somewhat, which is typically what happens on all really good teams. Your roles do change from time to time as you continue to strive to get better. And so I'm just honored by the opportunity that David Burson and Sean McManus, our chairman, have bestowed upon me. And having spent a lot of time with Clark, who's one of my very best friends and someone who I have the utmost respect for, we're just going to continue to do what we do and try to bring forth the best possible experience from a fan's perspective, both from an educational and also from an entertainment standpoint.
Exactly.
You want people to enjoy the moment of March Madness.
And if you can't enjoy the Final Four, I don't know what you can enjoy.
You're in the wrong business.
We have a great storyline, a number of great storylines, but one of them, once again, happens to involve the former Memphis coach, John Calipari. A couple of years ago with that young class, he won an NCAA title. Last year, wasn't as good. This year, he has a plethora of talented players who many feel are going to be very high draft picks, one and done next year. Can he do it again? Can this class win a national championship again with freshmen?
Well, listen, there's no doubt. It's been heralded as the best recruiting class in the history of college basketball. 6 McDonald's All-American on that group, on that team, and there's no doubt that he can. The beauty of college basketball, though, and I've said this before, is that, you know, the best team doesn't always win it because it's a one and done. Unlike the professional game, you got to beat me 4 times. Best team's going to win 4 out of 7. On the collegiate level, that's not always the case. You're going to have to win a game, maybe 2, where you don't play your best and your opponent maybe plays theirs.
Good point.
And so there's just never a guarantee. Plus, these young men have never played together. So the lack of chemistry, the fact that you don't know how they're going to respond to the big stage. He's done it before. If anybody can do it, John Calipari can. But it's just not going to be a given. Plus, there are a lot of really good teams. If you look at what's coming, you look at the defending champs. Louisville's loaded. You know, they lost Peyton Siva, but they bring back a tremendous amount of talent on that roster, and they've had a solid recruiting class as well in filling their holes. So there are going to be a lot of good teams this year that are going to have a great opportunity, I think, to make a run for that national championship. That's the beauty of it. And we'll learn more as the season unfolds.
Exactly.
And we'll start to see what the strengths and weaknesses are, because right now Cal couldn't tell you how good they can be, because you don't know until that horn goes off and those guys get out there together. You know, are they going to be as unselfish as the group he had that won it 2 years ago, you know, where his best player didn't need the ball to be effective? That may not be the case this year. And there's only one of them out there, one ball, and 5 guys got to share it, and all 5 of those guys are expecting to go to the next level. That's going to create a challenge for them.
It's interesting you bring up that, one ball, 5 players on the court. The University of Memphis, right across the street from where we're at, playing at FedEx Forum, one of the teams expected to compete. They have possibly the best quartet of guards, and I say quartet because there's 4 of them, and you can only play 2 or 3. If you want to go 4-guard lineup, maybe you could do what Villanova did a few years ago. But one of the guys that's the new kid is Michael Dixon, and you know his story from Missouri, had to sit out last year. Mike Krzyzewski, the Duke coach, comes out recently in the last few weeks and says that he believes there should be no waiver from the NCAA, that every player, no matter the circumstance, should have to sit out a year. Dixon will not have to sit out the year. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I have the utmost respect for Coach Krzyzewski. I think he's the best that's ever done it on the collegiate level. But until they say that coaches have to sit out a year, once they've gone into a kid's home and sold themselves and the program to that young man, and then they a month later decide they're going to take a better deal to go coach somewhere else because they can make a few more $1 million, I don't think that they should. Conversely, when you're a student athlete and you sign a letter of intent, it's a 1-year contract.
Right.
They haven't guaranteed. So if that coach comes in next year and he says to you, Greg, you know, I really like you and you were great, but I got this kid coming in who's a little bit more talented than you, so we're going to have to take your scholarship for this upcoming season, and they can take it at the last minute. So unless you are going to put forth the type of parameters that are going to allow for that to be addressed, then I think it would be absurd to not allow these student athletes. Again, the vast majority of them are only going to play at this level. They're not all going to be professional, whether it be here in America or in Europe, and it's their passion. And I think if they're doing well enough in school, and they have someone who's willing to give them another opportunity at another university, you know, tip your hat to them, you wish them the best, and you move on.
I know you were in Springfield recently for the Basketball Hall of Fame inductee, class of 2013, which included your collegiate coach at UNLV, Jerry Tarkanian. Talk about Jerry getting in, and also just briefly about this experience. I know you've talked about it a number of times, but to have that type of team that you put together, that was put together out there at UNLV, and you know, the way you guys played on the court.
Well, the fortunate part of that is we all came from similar backgrounds. We had all, in essence, been given a second opportunity, but we also had an opportunity to grow together. You know, that group had been together for 3 to 4 years.
Right.
And that's something you don't typically get an opportunity to see in today's game, which I'm not opposed to. I love the game of college basketball the way it is, and I think kids should have the opportunity, if their talents dictate, to be able to move forth and pursue their dreams. Having said that, that was a unique group because of Coach Tarkanian in and of itself. He had been an iconic figure in Las Vegas. I grew up, born and raised there, and was told by my 4th grade teacher that I could one day play for UNLV. And you talk about inspiration and giving a young kid that didn't have a lot of hope something to shoot for. That was a huge moment for me. And then you get teamed up with a guy like Stacey Augmon and Anderson Hunt and Larry Johnson, one of the best to ever play. We had a really unique team, a unique group. You may not ever see that again, but we had so much fun playing together and you know,
fun
just
to
going
watch
around
you guys.
the country. Yeah, it was a great time. You know, you don't know at that moment. You're just a young kid, you know, with a runny nose. You have no idea the magnitude and the impact of what you're doing at that time is going to have. And I truthfully tell people this, you know, I haven't had a day go by in my life when I'm in America where someone hasn't asked me about that team. You know, that's over 20 years ago. That's pretty
Prerequisite
impressive.
in the interview you were talking to you.
Well, it is, but it gives you the idea of the significance of being a part of something that historic. So it was a great opportunity to be a part of it, and I'm so appreciative now that my coach, Jerry Tarkanian, finally got his just due and was inducted into enshrined into the Naismith Hall of Fame.
Well deserved. We like to end all our interviews with something called 5 for the Road.
Okay.
Quick answers to these 5 questions. Before I start, though, give me a quick answer. Is there political aspirations in your future? I know you're very involved in politics in the sense of backing and...
Possibly.
Okay.
It's possible.
Down the road.
Down
possibly.
the road.
All right, here we go. 5 for the Road. What is your favorite professional sports franchise? Any
Pittsburgh
sport?
Steelers. It's an easy one. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Real quick, why?
I've been a diehard Steeler fan since I can remember following sports. And since I played professional basketball, you kind of lose your allegiance to teams you grew up rooting for. You might end up hating them, actually. So the Steelers are, for me, through and through.
Favorite professional athlete of all time? Maybe the poster that was on your wall as a kid.
I would have to go with Muhammad Ali.
Oh, one of mine as well. Favorite music? What do you listen to? Group, genre of music?
I'm
artist?
kind of I'm an old school R&B guy, so I'm a big Sam Cooke fan. Otis Redding.
You're in the right
Al
place, by the
Green.
way. For
I know,
music.
I know. My mom and my family all grew up the blues. Bobby Blue Bland, someone
Sure.
I love. B.B. King. I mean, I love that genre of music. Having said that, I'm a huge music nut. There isn't really any genre, with the exception of heavy metal, that I don't listen to. Country, you name it. I'm classical. I love music. I literally have music on constantly.
Favorite movie of all time?
That's a tough one. I'm gonna go between 3. I'm gonna go Godfather, Star Wars, Shawshank Redemption.
So you can't distinguish
I
between the
can't
3.
because they're all different genres, you know.
Okay. Godfather 2 is also pretty good.
Godfather 2 is good, but there was no 2 without 1, so I gotta go with 1.
Good point. Finally, favorite TV series of all time?
Oh, that's a tougher one, man. Favorite TV series? This is gonna sound really weird, but growing up, mainly because of who I got to watch it with, my grandfather, Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke, going old school.
My grandfather loved Gunsmoke, and it was an opportunity for me to spend time with
James
him.
Arness. Hey, Greg.
Yeah, you know it.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Memphis Tigers football has been around a long time, and with it, the Tigers' faithful fans, starting with the diehard members of the Highland 100, the Tigers' major booster group. Fans will always find ways to enjoy themselves before, during, and after games, and that includes the supporters of the blue and gray. But with the creation of Tiger Lane, fans have taken tailgating up a level. What was once a very limited and sometimes scarce group of revelers outside Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium has become a social event. Now more than ever, Memphis fans are seen everywhere on Tiger Lane, doing everything from grilling up some great food to dancing to local bands or DJs to playing a game of touch football. Tiger Lane has become a must-visit for Tigers fans, or any fans for that matter. And here's a little taste of what you can expect to see on any given Saturday in the fall when the Tigers are suiting up for a home game.
Oh, nice. Greg Gassett, man, whenever you get a chance, stop on by with Team Fambulance. Hook you up with some food, some good drinks. Come out and hang out with us and eat and have a good time.
The Tigers hit the road this weekend, but will return home to play SMU on Saturday, October 19th. Game time is set for 11 a.m., so that means some early morning tailgating. The Grizzlies will play preseason game number 3 this Sunday when they host Haifa, a professional team from Israel. The team will also host an open practice Saturday at 1, which is free to the public. The Grizz had a very productive training camp last week in Nashville and are coming off their best season in team history. Also next Wednesday, the inaugural American Athletic Conference Men's Basketball Media Day will take place at FedEx Forum. And our guest next week on Sports Files will be Memphis Tigers head coach Josh Pastner. And that'll do it for now. Remember, you can see any of our previous shows here on Sports Files by going to WKNO.org and clicking on KNO Tonight. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.